need to pull myself up on Facebook because I have to fiddle with the settings, which doesn't work. Bear with me one moment. For anyone who's watching, thank you for watching. I hope you're having a good Friday afternoon. It's not coming up on Facebook. There we are. We are live. Let me just change the settings, because otherwise I think it only streams to me, which is not helpful. There we go. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my guest this afternoon, Helen Greenwood. Thanks for doing this, Helen.
You're welcome. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
So Helen's here because she is the Spotlight member in my Visibly You membership this week. She's been sharing lots of very valuable tips and advice for us, but I wanted her to be able to share some of those with some more people. So we are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, I believe. So if anyone is watching, do say hello and do comment. I think we'll definitely see your comments come up if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm not so sure, but we will go back and have a look later. And if there's any questions, then please do put them in there, and we'll go and ask them, or I'll get Helen to answer them because I won't be any help. So Helen, tell us a little bit about. I'm really fascinated by not just what you do, but also the journey that's kind of got you there, and what why you do what you do now. So tell us a little bit about how it's come about.
So, my background, I was a technical writer for almost 15 years, working in various big companies. The first one I worked at was a semiconductor chip company manufacturer. They made the machines that make semiconductor chips. And as a technical writer, I would go into the clean rooms, so the rooms where they test and assemble the machines, and ask the poor engineers all manner of ridiculously stupid questions, so that they would have to explain what they were doing and why they were doing it and how they were doing it, and I would write it all down. And then I would go away and I would make a set of simple instructions that people could use, basically to make engineering manuals. So I did sort of that kind of technical writing for various different companies for, as I say, for nearly 15 years.
So you've got lots of experience of helping make things make sense to people, then, haven't you?
Yes. So, well, for the company that made the semiconductor chips, we had a controlled language. So basically, you had a dictionary of a few hundred words that you could use, and that was it. So there was no opportunity to be creative in any way, shape, or form. Wow. And then one of my other jobs, I worked for an IT company in the quality department, and I had to learn the documentation archiving system and then basically train other employees on how to use it, and also writing the instructions and procedures for it. Again, not massively creative, but it did allow me to become an expert at things, which is one of the things I love, and then to teach other people how to do something, which is also something I enjoy. But again, all these jobs were quite technical, not very creative. Meanwhile, in my spare time, I was coming home and doing all kinds of creative activities like painting, cross-stitch, making jewellery, sewing, photography, all the creative things I could get my hands on, really. So that kind of, looking back, that was kind of coming out, not necessarily in the job I was doing, but in my hobbies. And then my daughter was born, and I decided I didn't want to go back to a full-time job. I didn't want to go back to being employed. So I ended up doing a part-time social media role for a small charity, which was brilliant for me because, as I say, part-time with a small child, and it was remote, and it was a little bit creative and interesting. So I did that for a few years. Then I tried being a social media manager for a year, freelance. I liked the creative side again, but I wasn't really keen on the scheduling. I wasn't very keen on the clients that didn't really know how to get the information to me. So they would sort of say, oh yes, I'm planning to do X, Y, and Z. And I think, well, that's great. If you told me that, we could have used that as content. So I was trying to get content out of them, and it wasn't really ideal. So I knew I didn't want to be a social media manager anymore. And a friend just happened to say to me, well, why don't you do something with Canva? Because I'd been using it when I was a social media manager. And I sort of ummed and ahed and thought, oh, actually, I could do something with Canva. I didn't know what that something was exactly. But I took the idea and ran with it. And that's how my business came to be. And that was 3.5 years ago.
Wow, amazing. Bex is watching. Hi, Bex. I don't know if you can see the comments, Helen. It says,
I can't.
I've actually made something you're doing. Great to see you, Bex. So I mean, great that you kind of, spotted something that you quite enjoy, you're good at, and you've set your business up doing that. Can you talk a little bit about how, what specifically you do then? Because you're not, as you say, you're not a social media manager, but you're kind of helping people with their own, aren't you, really?
So I teach people how to use Canva themselves. So I'm not creating things that they can use in the sense that I don't produce templates for people to use. I teach people how to go into Canva, either they find templates that they want to use or even create something themselves that they can then use for their social media and for the marketing and for other things as well. I've helped people with, all different things. There's such a lot you can do in Canva. It's not just the social media side of things. So I offer one-to-one training, I do workshops, I've got online courses, I've got my free Facebook group, but it is all about teaching people how to do it for themselves so that they learn a new skill. Because I think it's nice to be able to teach people that, because then they're not waiting around for somebody to either tweak a template for them or create something for them. They can, they can get on and do it themselves. And the more it's like most things, the more you use something, the better you get at it and the easier it becomes. I think if you're only sort of going in and tweaking somebody else's templates every few months, you'll forget how you do things. I think it's better to sort of keep doing it. There's a learning curve at the beginning, as there is with everything, but the more you use something, I think the better you get at it, and eventually you'll get to the stage like me where you're a little bit obsessed with it. Just a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that's so true, isn't it? Actually, you're empowering people to kind of get on and do it themselves, aren't you? Rather than, relying on other people to do it, or, not necessarily always being completely happy because they've done it themselves. But yeah, I know, I've experienced some of your training, and you do make it, Canva is a brilliant tool compared to other design software that I've used. It's so much more intuitive, but it's still, as you say, the scope is huge. So actually knowing where to start and working with you and getting, because I know you do different, courses at different levels, don't you? Right from the very beginning up to the more one-to-one specific stuff that you help people with. And I think that's so important, because I think once we've got it, it's so quick, isn't it? Then we can just get on and whiz things really quickly. And I know that you're not just about all of the things you can use in Canva. You like to help people generally with creating content, don't you, in other ways as well? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's something I've sort of done on the side of Canva anyway. I always, when I worked with clients one-to-one, I never just said, and here's your Canva training, I'll show you how to do this. I'd always have a little bit of a nosy at the social media, and I'd sort of say, oh, you could be doing this, or I'd be suggesting ideas as going through, or if they ask me to help them make a set of templates, I say, oh, what would be good for this, or what you could use this for. So I found I was naturally suggesting content ideas or giving them some inspiration anyway. So I sort of have broadened my scope a little bit to include it's mostly Canva, but also there's some content ideas, there's content tips in there as well. And I'm also a big fan of using my phone to take photographs. I posted in my group a week or two ago asking how many photos people had on their camera roll, because I was convinced that my number, which I won't disclose here, was going to be the largest, and it wasn't, not by a long chalk. So people tend to, I do it as well, take photographs, and then they just sit on our cameras, on our phones, and we don't really do anything with them. And I think it's a bit of a shame that we are either letting all these photos sit there, or that we're not taking more, because particularly with AI, and I know it's such a hot topic at the moment, creating images for us, I think it's more important than ever, and I know you're keen on this from the visibility side of things, that we create our own images, whether it's a selfie, whether it's, you know, you sitting in your back garden having a cup of coffee, whether it's a picture of you walking the dogs, whatever it is, it's authentic, it's real. It might not be, you know, an award-winning, beautiful photo, but there are ways that you can improve how you take your photos and how you can make them look a little bit better, and that's part of what I want to do for people as well, is to get them taking the photos and get them using them for their content, because we do find it difficult to come up with ideas, and, you know, you sort of think, oh, what am I going to post? And if you've got, okay, a picture of a coffee, your favourite coffee mug, or, you know, you've got pictures of you walking the dogs, people don't need to know that you haven't walked the dog and that's not the exact photo from that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can still, unless of course we're having lots of sunshine, which we're not at the moment now, and, you know, it's absolutely bouncing down with rain, it's a picture of you walking, you can reuse them to a certain extent. And I just think it's important to sort of show that aspect, and it's not all stock images, and it's not all things that you've produced in Canva, that you mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? We overthink it a lot of the time and think that it needs to be some either like perfect photo or a really kind of complicated design in Canva, and actually, you know, sometimes just a quick snap is more effective, isn't it? Because it, you know, it gets it done, it gets something out there, and people relate to it. And yeah, often pictures or selfies. I mean, as you know, I used to do brand photography, but there's still a massive place for selfies because people just respond to that. People respond to faces, and yeah, so it's really great that you're kind of taking away some of that worry and that overthinking for people as well, and just kind of helping them to realise that it's okay to just share a few quick steps from your phone, but, you know, but also helping them to do that, make them look a bit better. And you absolutely can spot AI images a mile off, can't you? And the same with stock images. And I think people, I think there's stats about it actually, people don't pay attention to them because it's almost like they know automatically that it's not a real image, and they just scroll on past. They don't even bother to look at it. Whereas a real picture, I know the lines are getting more blurred. People, you know, they're probably more difficult to spot now. But when it comes to headshots and things like that, some people use their AI versions. But generally, you know, if it's your picture of a cup of coffee as opposed to a stock picture of a cup of coffee or an AI created version, we know the difference, and we don't even think about it, but we just know.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing as well. If you're using a stock image, and there's nothing wrong with using them, I use them for some of my sort of my free guides and things because they just fit in a bit better. But if you're having brand photos done, you can sort of try and think ahead and think, well, can I have a couple of images where I'm sort of sitting at a desk, or I've got sort of my branded things on a desk? You can do that. But also if you're, for example, going back to the cup of coffee or the cup of tea, if you've got your mug there, you're not just saying, oh, I'm having a cup of coffee. You can be talking about the fact that you've just bought some new coffee and it's really good, and asking people, you know, what's your favourite coffee? Do you even drink tea or coffee? And it sounds like, I do this all the time. I roll my eyes and think, who's going to be interested in that? But people are. Yeah. People are nosy. People are interested. People are like, oh, I've tried that and I don't like it. Or, oh, where did you get your mug from? Or sometimes, you know, you'll take a picture of a mug and there'll be a dog in the background blurred out, and people will be saying, "What? Ooh, what's your dog called?
Yeah.
Or, where did you get that cushion from? Or what? You know, what's that book on that table?" And it starts all these conversations off. And you don't get that with stock images. People aren't going to go, "Ooh, what's that beige thing in the background of the other beige things in your stock?"
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. So no. It's about showing a little glimpse into your world a bit. But it's also sort of starting those conversations, and it's something I found quite difficult to do still. I'm getting a little bit better at it. I mean, and part of it as well is about mindset, not about necessarily the confidence to post things, but thinking as you're going about your day, what can I take pictures of?
Yeah.
Because we forget, you know, even if you're going out to an event, you sort of sometimes you're in a bit of a rush and you forget. If you can just take a moment to say, oh, that's actually quite a nice doorway, or there's some interesting art on the way in, or the table's nicely laid out, or like the other day I went to an event and the breakfast came, and I always do a bit of a still got my Instagram hat on, I was out take a little picture of that, so I've got a picture of a breakfast, those kind of things. Keep them because you can use them. I mean, ideally, post them there and then and say I'm at such and such an event while it's happening. But otherwise, you can use them and say this is what I've been doing this week.
Yeah, I think that's right about being in that mindset, isn't it? And that's not to say that we should be always, and there's a balance, isn't there? We should always be thinking about content when we need to be present as well. But certainly when, just taking a few pictures, I quite often get home and I think, I didn't take a picture. Why didn't I take a picture? And it makes it harder then to just share something about that event. Whereas if you've got a picture, you've got a reason to be posting. It does make it a lot easier, and it's more, it's not just a text post. It's got something that's a bit more relatable. And you are very good at it. I know you find it tricky, but you are good at just kind of putting things out that people find amusing. Or
that's the one good thing that I do is I'll see silly things and post those. So they're not necessarily related to what I do. It's just something silly. So and that's another thing as well. If you see daft things around and you've got pictures of them, put them in a folder on your phone so you can always find them. Even if you don't always post them, they're always a source of amusement if you get bored.
That's true.
And it's the same with talking about taking pictures of events. Yes, it's nice to be able to post to say I was there. But then when you're scrolling back through, you've got them as memories, of course. So it just reminds you, actually, I've done quite a lot this month. I've been here, and oh, I forgot I did that.
Yeah. And I think that's really a really good point that you made about actually it might not necessarily be relevant to work, because a lot of the time I think people think, well, I can't post that because it's got nothing to do with what I do. But actually, it's just a way of giving a little insight into us as a person, isn't it? Which is so important, This is the stuff I teach all the time. It's so important that we do let people see who we are, what we're all about. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, as I know you're quite keen on, you talk about brand quite a lot, and actually using Canva to create quite a strong visual identity. And you've got a new service about that, haven't you? So I wanted to ask you a little bit. You can talk through that and why it's so important that we don't just have completely different, don't just find different templates on Canva and just whack them out all the time. What do we need to do to kind of what's important to think about in terms of our brand?
So the visual side of your brand is things like colours and fonts and the sort of the style of the graphics that you use. And the danger with just picking whatever you like on a particular day and then using something totally different is, particularly on Instagram, where you've got that visual grid and you scroll through, it just looks like some kind of weird patchwork quilt where nothing really fits together. And if somebody's coming to one of your posts on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, and they see one day you've got, I don't know, lime green and hot pink, and it's very modern, and then the next day everything's beige and very minimalist, they're not going to associate those posts with you and your brand because it looks like totally different people. So there's one element there, is trying to build that recognition so that people start to recognise your posts and start to go, oh, there's so-and-so, and that's, oh, I must remember to go and check back because I saw something the other day. And they start to associate you with certain colours, certain fonts, a certain way of doing things. So it's important to think about what you want your brand to look like and how you want people to feel about your brand. So, for example, I want my brand to make people feel that I'm very approachable, that the advice I give is, trustworthy, but it's useful, it's practical, it's not just the latest shiny thing that's not really of any use to anyone. I want people to be able to learn something and go away and use it. So my brand colours are sort of softer and a bit more muted, maybe, than my personality would warrant, because I do like a little bit of silliness. I do get that in there a little bit as well. But I want people to sort of feel a bit, okay, that's fine. I can approach her, and it's not, it's not too much, it's not in your face. It's approachable, it's friendly, there's a warmth to it. So I think that's the way to approach branding, because it can sound quite complex, is to think, how do I want people to feel about my brand? It's important to choose colours that you like a little bit yourself as well. It's also important to think, for example, my favourite colour is blue. There's a wide variety in blue, from really pale to really vibrant royal blues to navy blue. So based on you know what you want that feeling to be, you can find a blue that will suit. And the same thing with fonts. You know, I know it sounds a bit strange because it's just letters. There are different styles of font that will suit your brand better. The most important thing to think of really is to make sure that it's readable. We're all on our phones now, and if you choose something that's very ornate or very bold and sort of squished together, people aren't going to be able to read it. And you might think it looks really beautiful, but if people can't read what you're writing in your designs, then it's pointless.
Yeah, that's very true. And as you say, yeah, we're looking on a much smaller screen. You might be creating it on your computer, but then we're actually trying to read it on the phone. And I think, yeah, people do forget that sometimes, don't they? So if somebody watching is thinking, I don't know where to start with that. You know, I don't know. I don't have brand colours. I don't know. There's so much choice. Oh, thank you, Bex. Bex has got to dash to the school run. We'll be doing the same soon as well. But yeah, so if somebody's really struggling with that, can you just talk us through your new service? I know that you've got something to help them, haven't you?
Yeah. So I've got a service called a Visual Brand Builder, and it's basically me walking you through choosing your brand colours and fonts and helping you to decide on your visual brand style, which sounds very fancy, but it's basically you need to think about things like, is your brand very informal like mine? Is it more formal? Is it modern? These kind of descriptive words. So you get I created a sort of guide workbook that you go through, and it asks you some questions. It's not very difficult. There's absolutely no maths, if anybody's worried about that. Just to get you thinking about your brand and what your brand personality is, because that will help then to decide what kind of colours and fonts and style to go with. So you fill this workbook in as much as you possibly can. You send that back to me, and then we have a call over Zoom where we go through that. We fill in any gaps. So if there's anything where you're not sure, then we talk it through, and then basically we come up with your brand colours and some fonts and a kind of style of graphics. And then we will create a couple of templates together so that you've got a few ideas just to start off. It might only be one or two simple designs, but it just gives you a feel for the type of designs that you can use with your new colours and fonts and how to put the colours together, because it's important to have that contrast as well. So that's what the Visual Brand Builder package is, and that's for people who they might already be using Canva a little bit, but as you say, they've not got brand colours, so it's all a bit of a mishmash. There's no clear branding there, so I help them with that service so that they can then go into Canva, use their new brand colours and fonts, and off they go.
Yeah, because I think that's it, isn't it? Once you've got that, it's so helpful to, to not have to be thinking about what fonts to use each time, and what, you've got your kind of guidelines and you stick to it, and you can just go and you can use existing designs and go on top of them and all of that kind of stuff. It just saves a lot of time and effort. But yeah, putting that bit of work in at the beginning and working with you to get that clear is hugely helpful. So I think that's a brilliant service, and I wish that you were doing that when I sorted mine out. So what was that? I'm just looking at my questions because so we've talked a little bit about the challenges of showing up. I wanted to talk a little bit, because you're in my Invisibly You membership, I wanted to talk a little bit about your view on the importance of being visible and what you've found tricky, because I know you're not, like most people I work with, you're not somebody who just likes to be the centre of attention and share all your deepest, darkest secrets online. So could you just talk a little bit about your kind of take on all of that? You have a little bit already.
So I have I've got better at it. I know I'm still got a long way to go with being visible, but I am putting myself out there. What's important for people to think about is finding a way of being visible that's comfortable for them, rather than assuming that you've got to be on TikTok or that you've got to be, standing on the stage. Because I've got a TikTok account, I don't use it because I don't really like doing these kind of videos for myself. I don't mind, talking to people and doing sort of guest expert sessions, but I don't really want to just put my phone in front of me and then talk to camera for a couple of minutes and then upload that. It's just not me. So it's important to find ways of being visible that work for you, whether that's, if you are a TikTok fan, brilliant, go and do that. Maybe you want a YouTube channel, maybe you want to blog, and you just will have one photograph of yourself on your website, and people will be able to see you, but then you don't ever post other photos of yourself, but then you're writing about things and showing your expertise that way. So it's just important to find a way of doing it, because you do need to be putting yourself out there. You can be absolutely amazing at what you do, but you've just got to find ways or platforms to be on that push you enough out of your comfort zone that you're growing, but that don't absolutely terrify you every single time and just make you think, I just can't, and go and hide under the duvet.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, isn't it? It's getting that balance of not just, not staying completely in your comfort zone all the time, because, we're never going to get anywhere. But, finding things that don't absolutely destroy you to do it. Yeah, and it does, in your testament to it, it does get a bit easier, doesn't it? I think probably when we met, you were really quite unsure about, you wouldn't have done guest expert slots early on. You were not happy about standing and talking about, even though you really know your stuff. But I think that's one of the other key things as well, isn't it? If you know your stuff, so it becomes easier because you're doing something that's within your kind of zone of genius. So how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for them if they want any of your services, want some training with you, or just want to come and find out some more? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So I've got my free Facebook group, which is the Canva and Content Club. So that's where I share Canva tips and content ideas and all that good stuff. You can find me on my Facebook page, Helen Greenwood Creative, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I keep going to LinkedIn every so often, doing a post, and then forgetting all about it for a few weeks, and then going back to LinkedIn and going back again. So it's a little bit sporadic. I am trying to get better at that. For some reason, LinkedIn, it's one of those places that keeps pulling me back, but then I post very peculiar, silly things on there because I think, well, it doesn't matter, it's only LinkedIn.
I love
I'm
that.
posting these strange things that amuse me and maybe like 3 other people.
I think it's a lot more than 3.
Possibly. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me.
Brilliant.
I am going to be doing a free challenge in May. I'm just having a look at it because I've only just come up with the name earlier on, and it's not even that exciting a name. It's Canva Kickstart Challenge.
Oh, I like it.
Yes. And as you can imagine, as an overthinker, it's taken me quite some time to come up with that.
It's perfect.
That's its name, and that's going to be in May. I haven't got the exact date yet because every time I'm trying to do something, there are school holidays.
Yes, they're never at school, are they?
Always school holidays, but it is going to be in May.
Amazing.
That's going to be for anybody who's a beginner to Canva or has been using it for a little bit. It's a 3-day challenge. It's not going to be too overwhelming, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun.
Brilliant. That sounds great, because things like that where people can actually learn on the go and get the feedback at the same time sounds brilliant. It's so helpful. So we will pop all of your links in the comments on the various different places, and once you've got your link for that, we can add that on as well and get people signed up. But if anyone does think that sounds good, then pop your details in the comment, or just say in the comments that you fancy being a part of that, and that will encourage Helen to get shouting about it. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Helen. I'll let you go because I know you need to go and get your daughter, don't you? And I need to go and get mine soon. But it's been lovely chatting to you. I don't think there's been any questions, but as I say, we'll go and check on LinkedIn. Oh, there's Margaret joining us now. Hi, Margaret. We're just finishing. But obviously you'll be able to watch this on replay. And so hello to everyone who watches on replay as well. And if you have got any questions, give us a shout or head over to Helen's group. I will be back next week with my... I'm not sure if I've got anyone for next week, actually.
It'll just be you talking to
It
yourself.
would just be me. Yeah, I'll interview myself
not?
next week.
Yeah. That's an idea. Everyone's sending questions to ask Sarah and she has to answer them.
Ooh,
There you
do a
go.
Q&A, mate.
Ask me
Yeah.
anything. That's a nice
I
idea.
like it. See, she's always coming up with content ideas.
Yes, because I don't have to do that one, you see. It's family with other people.
Brilliant. Oh, thanks so much, Helen, and thanks
Thank you
everyone
very
for watching, and see you all soon.
Thanks
Take
very
care.
much. Bye.
Bye.